Ladies and gentlemen,
welcome to Ole Walls! Let's get fucking listening, baby! Yes!
Got a few guests with me here today. This was originally planned to just be a U.S. Open preview chat. The news of the day has slightly changed our topic of discussion. So joining me in this wild cast of cast and crew here, we have one Matt Wader, the pride of New Jersey. Matthew, how we doing today?
Great, boys. How we doing?
One and only Coach Jeff Slanovic, pride and joy of the FDU Devils. Jeff, how we doing?
Great to be here once again.
And the man with the little shit-eating smile on the other end is Eric Appley. Eric, welcome
Good morning,
back.
Jordan.
So obviously, the news of the day now, the PGA Tour and LIV are going to be merging. DP World Tour is involved in that as well. I'm just going to open it up. Jeff, you seem very anxious. Why don't you lead us off on this? You've been blowing up the group chat as this has all been happening. Just initial thoughts. Go.
I think if I was a PGA Tour player who stood by Jay Monahan's side for the last 12 to 18 months, I'd be absolutely furious. I'd be considering walking out of the Canadian Open if I was going to be playing in that this weekend. They turned down a lot of money under the premise of it's bad money and PGA Tour money is good money. But I think the lesson to be learned here is that when money talks, everybody's willing to be a hypocrite. And now the money's talking and it's going to benefit everybody in some capacity. We don't know exactly how moving forward. And it's going to come back to the PGA Tour guys, but they've kind of now looked like fools. And the LIV guys have kind of been validated in their risk to go.
Eric, I see you chomping at the bit over there. We're going to let you have it
So
now.
this is like the most typical reaction ever by Slano, which is a complete overreaction. Like in fantasy golf, when his guy either bogeys or birdies the first hole, he blows up that his guy's either won the tournament or lost the tournament. Like, do we know any details of the merger or like what this means for any of the players on either side? Or like we know nothing, right? Except that these guys are going to merge. So how could you say that, somebody should walk out of the Canadian Open because they didn't go to LIV? Like that's just crazy. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see as time goes on when we actually know what's happening. Then I think we can all make our opinions.
First of all, enough with the measured responses. We want hot takes and to freak out here. So before we send it back to Jeff, Waiter, what do you got, buddy?
I think it's just the timing and how tight-lipped they were about this. Like, there was no leak. All of a sudden, we're just out. Like, here we are. We're going balls in. Like, this is it. We're going to merge. And I really cannot wait for someone to get a microphone in front of Rory McIlroy. Like, I want to hear that guy talk about this as soon as possible.
Yeah, as of last check, no word from Rory yet. A couple things said in there. If I was Rory, I would be pissed. I mean, the tour trotted him out there to pretty much badmouth LIV for like 12 months, and now he's just going to have to fucking eat this. That does kind of suck. As Bucky did say, though, we don't really know what's going on. We know they're coming together. We know the PIF, the Saudi Investment Fund, is going to pump a ton of money into the tour. Greg Norman was told this morning, right before they did the CNBC interview. So supposedly. Yeah, that's a good point. When that guy said that, he's like, oh, yeah, I called him this morning. It was possible he was finding out with everybody else. But yeah, I think one of the other interesting things, like maybe 5 people had to know what was going on in this thing? 5, 10 people? Because, I mean, shit, no one can keep a secret. There was absolutely no news of this. That may be the most surprising thing to me. Does anybody else have anything else that you find more surprising than the fact that it was totally secret up until today?
Doesn't happen very often in today's world with any type of major news that something doesn't get leaked ahead of time. So that's a good point. No, that's shocking.
No, the only thing that I could possibly think of would be that Phil Mickelson went on kind of a rampage this weekend as if he knew he was about to be validated in his decision making. And Rory was really, really, really quiet the last week or two. So part of me does wonder, did he have an inkling that something was potentially happening? And that's why he took a step back, because he did really lead the crusade for the last 12 months or so. When I say that they should walk out of the Canadian Open, more of what I'm speaking about is just how they were told how being loyal was going to be something that got them a lot more than what going to LIV would do. And they'd be remembered in the game of golf and the history. And we're going to remember who stood by the PGA Tour and who stood and went to LIV, right? And now, just 18 months later, 12 months later, it doesn't matter who went to LIV and who stuck by the PGA Tour because it's all going to be the same thing. And if I was a PGA Tour player right now, that would have me very, very livid because we're welcoming back with open arms and borderline appreciative of the PIF and the money that's going to be coming in, as opposed to we can do this without them. They're going to go on their own. We're better off without them. Obviously, fans are in a much better place now. But if I was one of the PGA Tour guys, specifically the guys in that like 40 to 125 number on the list, I'd be really upset right now because they could have made some life-changing money real quick and come back.
You don't know that. You don't know that. You don't know that there's not going to be any sanctions or ramifications against guys that went to LIV, or that they might have to play their way back onto the tour. You don't know that the guys that went to LIV are going to get paid what they were told that they were going to get paid, right? So there's a chance that staying on the tour was still the better option. But I mean, it's crazy that these two entities are gonna merge after all this shit that's gone down between the two of them.
In speaking to Bucky talking about you don't know if the LIV guys are going to get paid, your boy has some sources here, and according to those, there are a couple dudes who went to LIV who are like, I'm not super sure that we're getting the money we were promised, and I'd be hard pressed to imagine that you could sue the Saudi government and being like, hey, I'll take the money you promised me. Like, what are you going to do? And the Saudi government's gonna be like, fuck you. Like, we don't care. Sue us. Go for it. Speaking of people, and you mentioned Phil's kind of Twitter rampage this weekend where he was really going at one guy for the most part, Brandel. What's Brandel gonna have to do here going forward? Like, he has been just flamethrowering this thing. What's his move going forward now?
Run and hide.
People
Probably gonna
will
quit.
forget. People will forget. Those guys on TV are there for entertainment purposes, and they need to get your attention as much as they can. So that's what he's been doing. They'll wash it under the rug for the most part, probably.
You think he just shuts up and falls in line?
I don't know. Slano probably has a better opinion.
He's
been so anti LIV pro PGA Tour. It's been very Skip Bayless ish, almost like there's like a front that he's putting on that like it doesn't matter what happens, who's right, who's wrong. Like, this is the hill I'm dying on until there's another hill that I can try to die on down the road. And that's kind of Skip with a lot of his takes on FS1 or whatever he's on now. But he's going to be in a really tricky spot. And obviously Brooks Koepka was the first one this morning to throw some shade at him. He's going to be in a tricky spot for the next couple weeks and months. And I'm always fascinated by when this LIV news seems to come out, because here we are. You mentioned it. We were supposed to be talking about LA Country Club and the US Open next week out west. And if you think these aren't going to be the main topics of that press conference for all the players next Tuesday, Wednesday afternoons, like it's all that we're going to hear about. And I think something like that could drain on some of these PGA Tour guys.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how long it takes to get actual details, because until you get actual details, the questions are, it's going to be the same question from the media. Like, the media is not that inventive. Like, they're going to ask, what do you think of the deal? Do you feel disrespected? Do you feel left out? It's going to be like the same 6 questions over and over again until there's like some actual details on like how this is going to run. But yeah, it's going to 100% be the only thing asked of every player from here all the way up to the U.S. Open until they start playing on Thursday. And then, then it'll kind of dissipate for a week or so, you'd have to think. But that'll be the main topic. Mr. Waiter, are you back with us? I know you've been popping in and out over there.
His screen looks like he just got eliminated from around the horn.
Oh, he's back
dark
in the lobby.
and
We'll try
frozen.
again.
Oh, now we got 2 of them.
We got 2 waiters.
I keep getting kicked out. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Monahan said he's having a players meeting today.
Yeah, today at 4 p.m.
I don't know if you
since you're back, Matt, what do you think the tone in that room's going to be?
Oh, I mean, he's going to take a beating. I mean, these guys are going to come in there and attack him, and he's going to have no answers for them. He's going to get very generic like they're giving everybody else, but he's really just going to go in there, I assume, just take his beating for an hour or so and let them air out their frustration. I mean, I guess to Jeff's point earlier, I don't know that there might not be a guy or two who says, screw it, I'm not playing this week just to make a point. Like, there might be 1 or 2 guys who do that.
Would Rory?
Maybe.
He's the name. And, I mean, really, it's him, Hatton, Sam Burns. Like, Rory, what's the tour going to do to Rory McIlroy after he led them for the last 12 months through this anti-live? We're going to stand by the history and grow the game of golf our way. If Rory just says, I'm out, like, I don't need to be in Canada the week before the U.S. Open, like, what's the tour's response to that?
Maybe
Because I don't see why Rory should play
he'll
this
just
week.
quit golf forever, just to prove a point. Can't rule it out.
I think we can rule that one out. I do get where Jeff's coming from here. Like, I think he has more of a leg to stand on and being like, screw it, I'm not playing this week, because it's hard to imagine that he did all that stuff just in his own, like for the past year and a half or whatever. Like, it's hard to imagine that he just wasn't, like, he just decided one day, like, hey, I'm going to go out there and be like the spokesman for the PGA Tour. You'd have to imagine at some point along the way, like, Monahan and somebody else in the tour building was like, hey, you're talking about this already. Why don't you just keep going and we'll let you be the player face of this. So I would get him being more frustrated than anybody else. I think he probably still plays this week, but man, that would make for a fun topic if he just decided to take off for the week and be like, you know what, screw you guys. I'll see you at the U.S. Open. You guys kind of fucked me over. I'm going to fuck you guys right back.
Do you guys get the feeling the last couple weeks Rory's looked more defeated in all these interview conferences that he's had, where he's kind of like, screw this shit? Maybe Rory knew this was coming and he's like out there having to still kind of push the initiative, but knew it was coming. Because I just think the last couple weeks he goes and sits up there and he's just like, Jesus Christ, like, I'm still going to get asked the same questions, but I deep down know something's about to pop off and I already don't like it.
Well, it was nice while it lasted for Matt.
Again? Wait, you can't hear me?
He's been eliminated again.
I think where Matt was going with that is that Rory knew that he lost and knew what was coming. I mean, he hasn't played great lately. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe we'll never know. He looks like his hair's gone gray pretty fast on him. So the dude's been stressed out about something. But at the end of the day, he's a golfer. and maybe it's a relief for him that he can just get back to golf.
Yeah, you'd have to think that's not ideal for his golf game over the past, year and a half, however long this has been. I mean, and especially like the last couple months, you've seen it. He looks drained. Like you said, he looks like there's more gray than ever. Might be the best thing in the world for him that this shit's over with. He just gets to go back to playing golf and like trying to win a major again, which, by the way, he hasn't done in 10 years almost now. That was going to be one of my topics today for the U.S. Open. But is there anything else we need to touch on? Like, are we missing something here? We don't know many of the details. There's going to be a ton more details that come out. Everything's going to become a lot more clear, like, once we get into this. Like, oh, I know one we didn't touch on. Greg Norman. Like, does anybody think Greg Norman's going to be kept around at this point?
I don't really care.
I can't say that I care one way or the other either. But I think you should probably go ahead and book Rory McIlroy to win the U.S. Open next week, and you can do that right now.
Wow, there's the hot take I'm looking for. We are booking Rory to win
I think
the U.S.
he probably
Open.
hasn't won a major since him and Caroline Wozniak. He decided not to get married, and then he went scorched earth. So now he'll probably just go scorched earth against the world because LIV and PGA Tour are merging. So he'll probably just go win the U.S. Open. That's what he likes to do.
Matthew, you're back again.
I've relocated. If this doesn't work, you boys are on your fucking own.
Okay, welcome back.
What do you think about the Rory's lock to win the U.S. Open comment here?
I mean, if everything's fixed, then he definitely is. I mean, it seems like a great opportunity to throw the guy a bone if you just trucked him out there for a year. Make him be your guinea pig on this thing. At least throw him a major.
He did win the Tour Championship last year in kind of comeback fashion. Like, what a great story. PGA Tour leader. He is the two-time defending champ at 2 other courses of this Canadian Open this week. So maybe he considers that to be a major. I don't know. It is Canada's Open, not the U.S.'s Open or the British Open, but
you know who's going to be insufferable for like the next 4 months? And I say this as a big fan. Phil. Phil is going to be fucking insufferable.
Phil won. Phil won a lot.
That's nothing new, though. He's always insufferable.
I mean, they should just have somebody follow him around the range the next time that he is out there, because he is just going to be running his mouth up and down the range.
So I do have 2 things to kind of ask you guys about this whole thing. The first of which is there's been a lot of things, specifically probably more on the European side, because a lot of the big names to have left are big Europe names as it pertains to Ryder Cup and the Poulters and the Stensons and the McDowells and guys like that. But what do we think happens with all the things that could now be done retroactively because they kind of have been validated in their departures? I mean, you have Henrik Stenson was supposed to be the Ryder Cup captain, lose his Ryder Cup captainship because he chooses to go to LIV Golf. Well, now LIV Golf is sleeping in the same bed as the PGA Tour. It's all the same thing. Like, what happens with some of that type of stuff, right? You've had Rahm say we need the best players playing in the Ryder Cup. Like, what ends up happening to some of these people who now have to walk back comments? Jay Monahan had a lot of 9/11 stuff to say about why not Saudi money, why not Trump this, Trump that.
I think in the second part there with the Jay Monahan and the Saudi money stuff, they'll just pretend like that shit never happened. And then when they're asked about it, they'll do the same thing that like the LIV guys did when they went to the LIV Tour. They ate the questions for a couple weeks, kind of gave non-answer answers, and then people get tired of asking it to get no answer. And then we'll be done with that. As far as the Ryder Cup stuff, I think that's much more interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they give Stenson another shot at it. Because it's not like he was just like penciled in to be the next guy.
He was the guy.
Yeah, he was the guy. Like, he literally was the guy, and then told them, like, "Nope, I'm out. Like, see you later." Like that's different than like I think everyone had always penciled Phil in to be the Ryder Cup captain at Bethpage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's different, like being penciled in for it, leaving, so you're out, but now you're back. Like, does he maybe figure out enough goodwill to like make up for it? Like, Stenson's a very interesting like test case. Like, do they just fire him up the next one? For 2025, like at Bethpage? Like, do you just bring him back? As for some of the players, most of those guys who are like the Ryder Cup stalwarts that left, like the Graham McDowells, the Poulters, they all suck anyway this year. Like, you don't want them on the team. Maybe Sergio. So it'll be interesting to see if like Sergio gets on there. But Stenson is going to be an interesting case for the presidency, or not presidency, the captainship going forward. Because, like I said, it's different than being penciled in that he took it, said, "I'm going to do it," started down the whole thing, and then is out. I think a big test may be if Luke Donald like brings him on as like an assistant captain, like kind of late into the process.
That's what I was going to say. I think they bring him on as an assistant now.
In 2025, he's the guy. Back again. We're so sorry.
Yeah.
Whoops, my bad.
Right. Which then can lead you into like 4 years from now, it's probably time to get into the Westwoods, the Poulters, right? Like if for 1 year they just skip it like this year, 2 years from now, nobody's going to really care that he was taken down as captain, right? Which then opens up kind of that European run that I think everybody expected was going to happen when those guys no longer could qualify on their own and were no longer good enough to be captain's picks. That, hey, like, we're going to go on a 8-year run of these Ryder Cup legends for us that dominated the Americans for 20 years of being captains. But unfortunately, that whole stretch was taken out as of 8 months ago, right? 10 months ago. So the other question is, what do we think team golf looks like in the PGA Tour? They swear that team golf is staying a part of this merger. Is it simply LIV's going to have their own schedule? Are we going to see team events on the PGA Tour? Like, is it going to be LIV guys versus PGA Tour guys? It can't kind of be because they're all one tour now, right? Like, what does it look like when they say that that's going to stay?
If it looks anything like, at least in my opinion, I'll let you guys jump back in here in a second. If it looks like the current LIV team golf thing looks, it sucks. Because as much as like I dislike the Saudi involvement in LIV golf, like my main problem with LIV was like it's a shitty product. Like, who cares like about 4 guys who have no real ties to each other combining their scores, a couple count on one day and then like 3 count on the last day, and it's hard to keep track of. Like, if that's the fucking model that they're trying to bring over, like, that sucks.
Best.
Yeah. So any Bucky, we'll let you go for it. Anything more to add on the team golf aspect and pro
My
golf?
guess is that they'll try it out. They'll give it an event here or there. It won't really take off. I mean, we have team golf right now when we have the 2-man thing, and it's like the worst week of the year. Nobody watches it. So the only team golf that's ever going to matter is the Ryder Cup. And maybe they'll get a LIV versus PGA or some kind of other event there. Maybe they get one event out of it, but that's as far as I could see it going.
Yeah, because like, how do you keep doing LIV versus PGA Tour events when, like you said, you're all the same guys?
They're all
Like,
together now.
I mean,
you can split it up for a year.
They tried the match, and the match hasn't taken off. They keep fishing for like who would make the match exciting. It's not exciting. Like, straight stroke play in professional golf is exciting. It's the best way, and it's gonna. I don't think that's gonna change.
Matthew?
4-man scramble.
That would be something.
Draft them up. 4-man
They
scramble.
would shoot some crazy scores.
Crazy.
I was gonna say, I'd take a 4-man scramble once just to see how low those guys would take it.
Just once.
There'd be some wicked numbers, shots, like guys hitting it over trees, over ponds, like.
Yeah, you'd get to see the guys who can hit those shots. try whatever. Well, we try in our 4-man scrambles, right? Like these guys taking the stupid lines with driver, trying to hit it up and over shit.
As someone who usually is the one who stands on the tee in the fourth slot of those said 4-man scrambles, having to attempt some of those shots, the ball manufacturers are going to have to send some more product to some of the players in those said scrambles, because a lot of those are not found. Some of them are shots we always remember.
Not according to you. They always find their ball.
That's true.
They're going to be completely fine.
That is a famous statement. It's on the list that tour players never lose their ball unless it's in a pond.
That's true. That's true. They will find them all.
And that their scores would be markedly better with crowds versus without crowds. And the funny thing about that, Jeff, was we had a test case a couple of years ago where there were no crowds at PGA Tour events, and the scores didn't really change that much.
We never did a full study. We just watched with our eyeballs.
Amazing.
Yeah, so anybody have what like you think the best case scenario would be for like how the play is set up for this going forward? Like how do they figure out what the formats are and how to include, the LIV stuff, and does LIV just go away and does PGA Tour become the thing? I know they're setting up like a whole separate entity, but like what's the best way forward?
Well, I think the first thing that I would say is that the winners of it all are us, right? Like the fans are the winners of this merger, because all that we have wanted and all that we have cared about was the best players playing in the best tournaments all the time, right? We enjoy the Masters. We enjoy the US Open. We enjoy the PGA, where up to this year, all of them played, and this year, most of them played, right? So we are the real winners of it all. I don't see how after 2023, LIV Golf and the Four Aces dynasty is a thing moving forward, right? Like how if Dustin Johnson can play in a $20 million purse over here, why would he play an event in LIV? Like I don't understand how that is going to work with the current model. Like I almost feel like they'd be better off having like the LIV be like a AAA feeder program where like the best team throughout a year on the Korn Ferry Tour automatically goes to the PGA Tour. Like some sort, like I don't see how they're going to be able to balance the best players doing both things.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just have to go back to what they did before. Now you're just putting those guys right back into it. Like I don't think there's a way to do it any differently. How different is the money going to look?
The money's got to be fucking enormous, right? Like,
right, like those
for guys like Jay Monahan to like talk all the shit he did, and then swing back and be like, "Oh, we're buddies now." Like, there must be ass loads of money.
Yeah, which is going to help all of golf. But as far as how they structure it, I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see.
You guys have an opinion as to why it's now? Like, why is this going on? Like, all of a sudden now we're doing this?
Some of it had to be the litigation that was all going on, right? At some point, those lawsuits were going to come to an end, and there was going to be winners and losers. And if they could come to this agreement before there were winners and losers, it wouldn't shock me if the PGA Tour folks were starting to get a little bit of notice that they might not come out ahead in some of these things. And it was like, well, there's a chance that we're going to look like we're the losers in this thing, and these other guys are the winners, and we're going to have to let them do some stuff, and we might as well just do this because it saves us a little bit, right? I think we talked way back in the very beginning of this about just what does them being PGA Tour members mean who can go play on other tours, and I'm going to be in the PGA Tour, but I'm going to go play the Scottish Open. Well, now the Scottish Open the week before the British Open is a PGA Tour event because of this merger, right? Like there's some other things that have happened because of it all. It wouldn't shock me if they were going to find out that they were on the wrong side of some of these results in court, which helped expedite them trying to do this.
I can see that as being valid because
no way.
At least for
you agree?
I do agree. Write it down, Jeff. You and I agree. I mean, at least from where I see it, like, it felt like the PGA Tour had kind of weathered the storm of LIV. Like, LIV got their guys to start, but they haven't got anybody of any note since the first couple months. And I mean, if you look at their roster, like, outside of Koepka, DJ, Cam Smith, like, who else is over there, really? I mean, you got some decent players, obviously, some mid-level guys, your Taylor Gooches and your, like, lower mid-level guys, Brandon Steeles, and then, like, all your older guys, your Sergios, your McDowells and Poulters and stuff like that. But it felt like the PGA Tour had kind of weathered the worst of it and made it, like, kind of made it through the roughest seas, if you will, and we're kind of coming out the other side and had figured it out and had kind of restructured on their own end. So I don't disagree that there's a possibility that their lawyers were, like, looking at him and being like, hey, maybe this doesn't, fall the way we thought it was, and it's not going to be as beneficial to us. And they're kind of looking around and being like, well, if we're going to get whacked with something, we might as well just take the money now and be done with it. But yeah, the timing is very confusing because it didn't feel like LIV was gaining traction or anything at this point, unless you guys have a different opinion on that than I do.
It happened because Brooks Koepka won the PGA. He won the PGA, and then the whole world changed, and now the PGA Tour decided that they had to join up with LIV or else they were going to lose forever.
Do you think it's that simple? That you just saw him win the PGA? Fucker.
But yes, that's why it happened.
I should know better than to fucking trust your fucking ass.
Where do we think the LIV guys only playing so many weeks per year falls into their goals moving forward with all of this?
They were going to play 14 fucking tournaments on LIV this year. With 4 majors, there's 18. Plus, however many of those dumb fucking Asian Tour events they have to play.
Try to get the points. Right?
They're playing 20 events already. Like, that argument was really stupid. Like, the first year when they only played 8 events, like, it was one thing. But I think they were supposed to go up to, like, 16 LIV events next year, weren't they? Like,
yeah, with the team championships and whatnot, yeah.
So I don't...
The way the PGA restructured it anyway with the bigger events with the bigger purses, like, they were going to be able to do that now anyway.
Right.
Yeah, it was like 16 big events, 4 majors in the players.
Well, so do we? I guess, like, one of the big changes with the increased pay on the PGA Tour was that there was a mandate that if you're one of these exempted people into these exempted tournaments, you had to put these on the calendar. And I think we're all kind of in agreement because we've talked about this. There have been so many elevated events. It has felt like the first half of the PGA Tour schedule was literally like elevated event, off week, elevated event, major, elevated event. Like, and you do see guys who, like, they've played, it feels like almost every single week, right? And to the PGA Tour's credit, the elevated events, with the exception really of Wyndham Clark won one of them, right, have been won by the best players on the tour, right? Like, they have been the best events to watch. The leaderboards are stacked with big names. But I don't necessarily see Brooks Koepka coming back being like, well, now that all of you are back and we're going to have 45 events a year because we have this extra money, we're going to mandate that you play 18 of them, and these are the exact 18 weeks you have to play, and you can only miss one of them or 2 of them. I don't really see that going well with the Dustin Johnsons of the world and the Brooks Koepkas of the world, because that's part of what I think they wanted to get away from was the freedom of their schedule and the freedom of their calendar.
I mean, they were mandated to play stuff on LIV.
Yeah,
well,
but
they can pay the fines
really have
LIV money.
What's
Don't
that
play
way?
it. I said they can just use their LIV money and pay the fine for skipping it.
Yeah, I mean, isn't part of, like, being a pro golfer, though, that you play pro golf tournaments? So, like, they're going to have, like, they have to play tournaments. Maybe they don't have to play as many, but, like, if they want to stay sharp and they want to stay relevant, they have to play tournaments and be on TV and win stuff, or else.
But then, to your credit, or to what you just said, didn't Brooks Koepka kind of just prove to us that that's not really the case?
I mean, again,
Right?
he's still playing
Yeah, but
tournaments,
he's playing,
though. Like,
right? He just won the PGA because he played in the PGA.
Well, right, but he didn't play much leading up to that.
He played in the Masters.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
look up how many times he's played this year. Does Liv have a website? Yeah, they do. Look at these guys.
You can probably just go to overall. Oh, no, he wouldn't be in any of that stuff. Different
Schedule. Well, there's more. No, I want to see the past completed events. There we go. So he played in Mayakoba in February, in Tucson in March, in Orlando at the end of March and April, then the Masters. So there's 4. Another one in April 5, Singapore 6, Tulsa 7. So he would have played 8 events after
since February.
the PGA.
So probably very comparable to what he would have done on the PGA Tour.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. I don't think the schedule is all that much different for the LIV guys. Like, I think
No, it's just the mandated weeks, right?
Yeah. I mean, everything's mandated on LIV. Like, so, and I know going forward, the schedule is supposed to change on the PGA Tour. It was supposed to go to more of like a 2 weeks on, 3 weeks off thing was kind of the format that was getting kind of thrown around. The 2 weeks would be the elevated events, and then the 3 weeks would be non-elevated. And then they do two on, 3 off, 2 on, 3 off, or not off, but like 2 elevated, 3 non-elevated, with like the new format that was supposed to be coming next year, where those 2 elevated events were going to be no cut events. So again, it's going to be super interesting to see how they figure out how to incorporate everything. And, you know, we're obviously talking out our ass as far as that goes. But
how do you think the guys get their membership back?
Some sort of application process, probably. I mean, we were talking about it before we went live. Dan Rappaport said they were going to have to pay a fine, which it seems wild to me that they would still make them pay a fine after they kind of remerge. But
the fine that came from the PIF that's going to go back to the PIF.
They're not reaching into their pocket for any money. Let's be honest. Maybe they have to pay a fine, but
What about the guys who were like the highly ranked college players or the highly ranked AMs? Because there were a few of them who said, I'm going to LIV now because I know I can get paid. I haven't even proven anything yet, really, in pro golf. Like, now those guys have got to go back to square one.
There was the Spanish guy, right, from Oklahoma State.
Yeah, or whatever.
James Pio or Piot or
yeah. Well, there were a few that went and just said, "Screw it, I'll get paid. I'll work my way up through, winning money on the LIV." But they have like no real status. At least the big time players who are going to be coming back, they have that whatever they've already accomplished. Like I would think, just get their status back.
David Puig, he was one of them, right?
Yeah.
He's a member of Torque GC, in case anyone was wondering.
I haven't heard that name. Torque seems like a golf club that has struggled on LIV.
Do you want to guess who the captain of Torque GC is?
I think we should all take a crack at trying to guess who the captain of Torque GC is.
Ian Poulter.
You go first,
Ian
Jeff.
Poulter.
Okay.
No, he's the Majestics.
You wouldn't know that.
That is correct. The Majestics actually have 3 captains, by the way, as per listed on the LIV site.
Who do I think? Bryson's not bad. Bryson might be the
Jeff's
captain.
going Bryson.
No, Waiter said Bryson.
Oh, Waiter's got Bryson. Well, what do you have?
I think it might be Bryson.
It is not Bryson. It is Joaquin Neiman.
Was never going to get there.
No.
But I'm excited for Joaquin Neiman to be back on my television on the PGA Tour.
I thought his career was going somewhere.
Yeah. Bryson is the captain of the Crushers GC.
Torque, Crusher,
I knew
names.
Right.
We probably would have went there.
Wally, you sent us a text about a topic, which was Matthew Wolff.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yeah, you got it.
Matthew Wolff Anthony Kim?
Way less talent.
Does he
but
have way less
heading that direction, right?
Why,
Anthony Kim did it for a couple years, man. It already seemed like Matthew Wolff was on the way.
Anthony Kim was on a Ryder Cup, right?
Yeah.
Matthew Wolff is a partier?
Did you mean the party aspect, Eric, or just the way he disappeared from the golf
The way he
scene?
disappeared from
Like
the
it
golf
seems like he's
scene.
gonna. Yeah, it's got similarities.
I mean, he was
Um,
better than Colin Morikawa.
Yeah.
Matthew Wolf.
Yes.
Early on, yeah. I mean, I felt like his early time was when we were sitting at home during COVID, right? And he was showing up on all like the Tuesday, Wednesday Golf Channel like walk and talk things where they would play 9 holes with celebrities, right? Like, wasn't he a part of all that? He got into the TaylorMade one at Seminole, right?
Seminole.
Like he became kind of one of those guys. You might be onto something here.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'm gonna look up Colin Morikawa.
Well, Colin Morikawa has had a much better career since then.
Right.
When did Wolf left for what in 2021?
He went to LIV. Wolf.
He left at like the beginning. I think they all were like the beginning of 2022, right?
June 2022. Wolf joined Live Golf.
So he won the 3M Open in July of 2019. He won as a rookie, right out of college. He went.
Yep.
Colin Morikawa won later that same month. The Barracuda, not as good of a tournament. But
Wolf,
Opposite field
Wolf
event.
wins the NCAA and then wins on the PGA Tour as a rookie.
It was like his 4th or 5th
What's
start,
the last
right?
time somebody did that? And
Rose
the
Zhang.
following year, in 2020, he T4s the PGA, and he finished second at the U.S. Open.
You know who won the PGA in 2020?
Colin Morikawa.
Right.
That is correct.
Okay. But prior to that, Wolf was like supposed to be better than Colin Morikawa. But regardless, okay, so we want to hype up Anthony Kim so much because there's cool videos on social.
It feels like this isn't going to go in your favor, Walls.
Let's see what Anthony Kim actually did.
He won 3 times in his first 4 years on tour.
Okay, he finished his highest finish in a major. He finished 3rd at the Masters. He went to Oklahoma. He was a pro from 2006 to 2010.
Wikipedia is
He
beautiful.
did win 4 times. So
I'm only counting 3. I'm not really counting the Kiwi Challenge as a
which,
win.
I mean, yeah, he won the Wachovia Championship. He won the AT&T, and he won the Shell Houston Open. But
How many years did he actually play?
4 years.
4?
Yeah.
Like 2007 to 2011.
Yeah.
I think by 2011 though it was going off the rails.
Top 5, 2 majors in 4 years, and he had a T7, so 3 top 10s.
They're comparable because I mean Matthew Wolf basically played 3 years, had a couple top 10s. Like Matthew Wolf came out of the gates better, but like 21, he DQs from the Masters, doesn't play the PGA, T15 U.S. Open, and then 2022 gets cut from the Masters and the PGA Championship, and then heads to LIV.
So Anthony Kim had more staying power than Matthew Wolf.
You could say that, which is hard to give Anthony Kim more staying power than a lot of people.
All right, I'm off it. That's all I had.
I mean, the point of what all this was that Matthew Wolf withdrew from U.S. Open qualifying this week.
After leaving his LIV golf team.
Has he left the LIV golf team, or is he just getting like removed from all the website and everything, and no one really knows what's going on?
I'm pretty sure he left Smash GC.
Did he leave, or was he asked to leave?
Well, I don't really know how the team aspect of LIV golf from a management perspective works. I don't know how much of a manager Brooks Koepka is in terms of his golf club over there.
If you, on the LIV website, he is still on the roster.
Interesting.
It is Brooks Koepka, Chase Koepka, Jason Kokrak, and Matthew Wolf are still on the roster. And
what a good brother, though, that Brooks Koepka is.
Brother of the year.
Brother of the year.
I didn't
the
realize
opposite of Aaron Rodgers.
So the LIV website has little bios for each team. I'm just going to read you Smash GCs. In big bold letters, fight like family. Now in smaller letters, Smash brings the power and bundles of it. This team led by big hitting Brooks Koepka, who crunched one drive more than a quarter of a mile in 2022. But there's grace, too. Smash sees itself as a family, a close-knit gang that fights as one. With Smash, it's all of them or nothing at all. As a unit fused together by self-belief and total dedication, they're here to work, they're here to fight, and they're here to win. So
Sounds like a mission statement for a youth cheerleading squad.
I was going to say, it's not like a high school English assignment for the kids to write about a team.
Yeah. We don't.
So
We don't need to
while
talk
we're
about
on the
that
topic,
anymore.
while we're on the topic of people withdrawing from U.S. Open qualifying, I think Jeff found this more interesting, and Bucky, you had a little shot at him here in the group chat. There were a bunch of LIV guys who didn't even try and qualify for the U.S. Open.
Some good ones.
Yeah, Anna Baron, Lahiri, Bernd Wiesberger, Bubba Watson, Charles Schwartzel, Chucky Three Sticks.
Taylor Gooch was one of them.
Yep. Stenson, Poulter, Lee Westwood, Louis Oosthuizen, Pat Perez, Paul Casey, Sam Horfield, Siwon Kim. Don't know who that is. And then Taylor Gooch. None of those guys even tried to qualify for the U.S. Open. Anything to make of that?
They get guaranteed money on LIV. Why bother?
The Taylor Gooch is the one that surprises me, because I think when he left the PGA Tour to go to LIV, it felt like he was on not quite a Sam Burns trajectory, but he was on the cusp of becoming one of those guys that you would see on these elevated event leaderboards, right?
He was 32nd in the world, wasn't he?
Correct. Yeah. So that's the one that, I don't know. To me, if you have a chance to qualify for it, why not qualify? Especially considering with all the LIV stuff going on, one of the things we had talked about when LIV was there, right, is the exemptions, right? The guys that are exempt into the majors, they're good, right? Had this merger not happened, Brooks Koepka's win at the PGA is bigger than just Brooks winning the money and the world ranking points, because it's the 5-year exemptions that come with some of them. So for the next 5 years, he's good to play. Just because you win the Tulsa Open or whatever on the LIV Tour, you don't get anything like that for doing so. So to see guys like Taylor Gooch pass on playing in a U.S. Open qualifier doesn't really make any sense to me.
Yeah, I was surprised by it. Speaking of the U.S. Open, since no one else seems to have many thoughts to banter back and forth with you there, Jeff, do we want to touch on the U.S. Open, since that was the original point of what we were doing here today?
Rory McIlroy is going to win the U.S. Open.
I do have one point on the qualifying. That Monday Q info account is incredible for that day. Mm-hmm. That guy is all over that.
And if Rory McIlroy doesn't win the U.S. Open, it'll probably be Scotty Scheffler.
Way to go on a fucking limb there. Scotty Scheffler can't fucking putt, though.
He might not have to.
He might not. He gained 10 strokes? I was talking about it. He gained 10 strokes on the field.
He's on an unprecedented ball striking run that's now gone on a 4-month period. I know I shared with you guys the stat. He's the first player ever to finish inside the top 20 while losing more than 8 strokes putting in a single event. And he nearly won. He didn't just C19 it.
Yeah, he was one shot out of a playoff.
While missing multiple 3-footers in the final round.
I saw a thing that said it's the most ridiculous thing in the world, but if you put his putting stats with his ball striking stats with Denny McCarthy's putting stats, I think they would have won by 20 shots.
Sounds correct.
Matthew, any thoughts on the U.S. Open here?
Well, I'm going with Scotty myself. Front runner pick. I don't really got any long shot for you. I like Scotty.
Yeah, my U.S. Open research was severely dampened by the news
Mine too,
today.
honestly.
Tell you what, LA Country Club looks cool. I've been looking at some pictures of it. It looks like a cool place,
I'm sure
and
it doesn't suck.
I absolutely love West Coast U.S. Opens.
Yeah,
Phenomenal.
agree.
The Sunday late night finishes are tremendous. The Chambers Bay one was amazing
Yep.
when it was all the way out there.
Saturday's actually my favorite because they let it go a little later because they're not worried about like a playoff as much. So they run Saturday. It feels like on the East Coast, it's like damn near 11 o'clock when play concludes. So more West Coast U.S. Opens are should be on the docket.
I guess now that we're talking about the U.S. Open on the West Coast, it feels like Bubba Watson should have tried to qualify for the U.S. Open because I feel like Bubba Watson loves playing California golf. Hasn't he won at Riviera a number of times and loved that early season like swing out there?
You're fishing.
Are you
You're
good?
on a fishing expedition, and I think that you are probably fishing with an empty hook on this one.
Hasn't he won Riviera like three times?
I think he has.
Like fucking 8 years ago.
But what does that have to do with the fact that Bubba Watson should play the U.S. Open because it's in California, the same state as he won at a different course?
Maybe isn't he like good at Torrey Pines, good at Riviera, like good on the West Coast? The grass out there obviously sinks with something.
Yeah, he likes to smoke it out there. That California grass. He was good at Augusta. I mean, I don't know. I think for a while he was just like kind of good and he won, but he kind of sucks now, I think.
He hasn't won a golf tournament in 5 years.
And that was what, Riviera?
No, Travelers. He won 3 times in 2018, actually. He won Riviera, Match Play, and then Travelers. So he won 3 big dick events in 2018.
He's a horse for a course. He won the golf course a few different times.
He's won Travelers 3 times, Riviera 3 times, the Masters twice. He has won at Farmers. To Jeff's point, he has won a lot in California.
Feels like the guy should have tried to qualify. Something about being in California makes him comfortable.
He did used to love the Clippers, too.
And isn't he a minority investor in like the baseball team out there, like one of the minor league baseball teams in California? I'm pretty sure that this is coming to a real thing.
I don't know. I can't believe we're talking about fucking Bubba Watson's prospects at a U.S. Open.
Well, there's no prospects. He didn't qualify.
Because it's in California.
Can you guess the last time Bubba Watson T10'd a U.S. Open?
His baseball team is in Pensacola, Florida, so unfortunately you're off there.
Wrong side of the country.
2012.
It's probably been a long time.
That's a good place to start from, Jeff.
I'm trying to think of who won some of those early 2010.
2007.
Yes, Eric looked it up on Wikipedia. He last top 10 to U.S. Open in 2007. That was Oakmont, and he was very involved.
I was going to guess Oakmont, but I was thinking DJ's Oakmont.
He hasn't top 10'd any major since 2018, and funny enough, he only has 5 top 10s in majors in his career.
Yeah, he just won.
And 4 of them are at the Masters.
2. He's never top 10 the Masters. He's 3 at the Masters. He only has 1 top 10 at the Masters other than his wins.
And 1 in the U.S. Open and 1 in the PGA.
We knew he hated British Open
I'll
golf.
give you one name to look out for. I think he got in. I'm not 100% sure that he did. How about Preston Summerhays? Did he get in?
He did. He made that eagle putt.
He made eagle.
Oh, yeah. He's the yeah.
That kid's a stud.
How about there's 3 Stanford players that qualified for the U.S. Open?
Did the 4th guy not get in?
I don't know. I saw something that there were 3 and they were going to have to like charter a flight, but Stanford's in California, so
There was a fourth guy who was in a playoff.
Oh, maybe then. They probably had a good season.
You would have to think. I can't believe you just fucking took us on a 10-minute Bubba Watson fucking detour.
Who's your pick for the Open, Wally?
I think Jordan Spieth's going to fucking hang around. I don't think he's going to win, but I think he's going to be involved on when the day starts on Sunday. At some point early in the coverage, Jordan Spieth is going to be involved.
That's a half-ass answer. I asked you who you think was going to win.
He did.
We'd all like to hope that Jordan Spieth doesn't win. I'd like to go on the record. I hope he misses the cut.
Man, who do I like to win?
I think that Patrick Cantlay has a great shot to win the U.S. Open this year.
That's not a bad pick. He's playing good golf right now, too.
Ball striker, California kid, driving it really well. I don't know anything about LA Country Club, but it's a U.S. Open, so I would assume that you got to hit fairways. I would assume you got to hit greens.
It doesn't seem in the pictures to be your absolutely traditional kind of U.S. Open course. It looks almost rustic, if you will. Like there's some brushy areas around greens. Bunkers are, not your normal just circle bunkers. Kind of weird runoffs that then turn into rough and things like that. Yeah, Patrick Cantlay's a good pick. I don't want to piggyback on you, but you know what? Screw it. I'm going to take Spieth. Spieth's not only going to be around on Sunday, he's going to be around at the end on Sunday. Jordan Spieth to win the U.S. Open and break his major drought.
Will he hit the final putt of the tournament?
No, he will not hit the final putt of the tournament.
That'll probably be Patrick Cantlay 4 hours behind everybody else.
Letting people play through.
I got Scotty Scheffler tapping in for a par after he just missed a 8-footer to send it into a playoff to hit the final putt of the tournament.
That seems very realistic.
Fair enough.
Anything we've missed on today, gents? We're sneaking up on an hour here. I feel like we've covered a lot of stuff. We've all made a. Did Wade or did you make a U.S. Open? Yeah, did you? US Open
Scotty.
Scotty. Okay, so we got Scotty, a guaranteed Rory McIlroy, but if not Scotty, Patrick Cantlay and a Jordan Spieth out of the crew here. So, anything else? Any final thoughts from you guys before we wrap this up? We'll start with you, Matt.
I'm interested to see this LA Country Club. I don't know a damn thing about it. So something new to watch, new golf course, not the same thing as we always say. It's always nice.
Eric?
West Coast U.S. Opens are the best type of U.S. Opens. I tend to enjoy the courses that have a little bit more history as far as having past majors played at them. But I'm going to approach it with an open mind, and at least it'll end late at night. We like that.
Jeffy.
I think today's a really good day for us as golf fans. I think it's a great day for Twitter. That's going to be going all day, all night. I'm excited to hear what comes out of this 4:00 meeting that Jay Monahan, I'm sure, is going to get ripped apart in. But I think it's a good day for all of us. We're going to get better tournaments. We're going to get better fields. We're going to get the big names back playing against the big names that have been here. And at the end of the day, that's good for all of us.
Optimist Jeffy, thank you. I'm going to end it with stay loose just in case some big news comes out at 4 p.m. May have to go back-to-back emergencies. But we didn't touch on this, so I'm going to throw this in my little passing final thought here. I am so done with Pinehurst, and I was looking at future U.S. Open sites. We have Pinehurst every 5 years, and I fucking hate it. Hate it. That place
You won't
stinks.
be staying at Riggs's cottage those weeks.
That place stinks, just like Riggs.
Agree with that statement.
Speaking of 4-man scrambles, if they ever want some, they know where to come
They
find
can
it.
come find it right
They
here.
can
That
come
wouldn't even
find
be
it.
fun for them.
All right, boys. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Till next time. Peace.